Sorry, I needed to put my my microphone on. I always have the microphone off. Anyway, it's a long story. Yeah, there we go. So you can hear me now. Perfect, perfect. So I'll start again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's DJ here, Q Macro, with another episode of Hands-On SAP Dev. I'm really excited because we've got an awesome person on this morning with me here. It's Marius. I'll introduce Marius shortly. But thank you all so much for being here. Oh, Volker, no sound? Is there still no sound? There should be sound now. Can you hear me okay now? Let me know. I think there's sound. I turned the microphone on. Maybe your message came, was a little bit delayed, Volker. I'm going to assume there is sound. I'm going to drink some coffee as well. Ah, perfect. Thanks, Volker. So in fact, drinking this coffee. Yes, there was a little bit of buffering, Miles, but I think we're okay now. Maybe it's sort of backed up as well. I'm getting a Stream Health Excellent now. It was a little bit dodgy before. So keep me posted, folks. Keep me posted. Thanks for letting me know, Miles. Yes, so drinking well, actually, it's decaf coffee. I've run out of coffee beans. I've just bought a new coffee maker as well. I'll tell you about that maybe another time. And I don't have any beans. So I'm using this decaf coffee that Michelle drinks in my Coffee Corner Radio podcast mug, of course. And that reminds me that the Coffee Corner Radio folks, that's Jacob and Simon, they are or have been at Sapphire now over in Orlando this week. And they've been recording episodes, I think pretty much every day, right? They had a day 0, day 1, day 2. So definitely check out those podcasts. I've listened to pre-Sapphire, the day 0 and the day 1. I'm looking forward to listening to day 2 later on today. So yeah, if you've not already seen how to get this podcast, there's different ways, but this is the way I consume it. I'll paste the link in there. So that's that. Just to let you know as well, I've been very busy, very diligent, as has Max as well, for the streams where he was guest. Completing the annotation blog posts for all the latest episodes as well. So if you go to the normal, in fact, I'll do that again, hands-on, the normal URL, hands-on SAP Dev, and go down to the replays, you should see that every single episode up until the last one, which was last Friday, is now with annotation. So there's the links to the series the episode last Friday, where we had a look a little bit at the SitReg CapM project, but we also looked at Docker. And Docker in the context of VS Code. So I've got a couple of things I want to show you just before we start with Marius as well. Gregor, you can also check out some other SAP related podcasts at OpenSAP.pay. Oh, yes, awesome link, Gregor. Thanks, Gregor. Oh, yes, that's really good. I know there's a new podcast that just came out, a sort of a partner related one, which sounds quite exciting. I've not listened to any of those yet. Oh, yes. See, this is why I shouldn't drink decaf coffee. Thank you. Thank you, Max. I will put it onto my main here. Yes, this is why I shouldn't have decaf coffee, because I'm not operating at all very well. Anyway, so yes, this is the latest episode 23, which was last Friday. Annotated links are there. Thank you, Max. Thank you also for everybody keeping me on point and keeping me awake and everything and up to date and making sure I'm doing the right thing. I couldn't do this without you all, so thank you. So there we go. So that's the update on the annotations, and also thanks, Max, for adding the annotations for episodes 21 and 22 recently as well. As you probably know, in this part of the episode, I like to sort of highlight one of the other coding live streaming coders that I watch and enjoy watching. And this time we have Code Rushed. Okay, so let me go here. This is Mark Miller under the moniker Code Rushed on Twitter. So let me paste this into the channel. There we go. He is currently, or the last one I watched here, he is currently building some really cool sort of dice throwing and fantasy role-playing game utility programs. Really, really cool. Lots of graphics and stuff as well, which I'm totally in awe of. But he programs in C#, which I'm not that familiar with. I've done some C#, but it's always nice to watch other people code regardless of language. And also a little bit of TypeScript and JavaScript as well. So yeah, check out Mark Miller, Code Rushed. Really, really good. He streams 3 days a week, and it's in the evening for me. So I mostly watch the replays, but there we go. So that's Mark. And yes, Player FM, that is where I've talked about already. I noticed that there was an issue, and also Ronnie and other folks noticed there was an issue with the certificate on ES5. This is the publicly available ABAP stack system, so we can get an account and log on and avail ourselves of various OData services. And this ES5 system is the system that's being used as a backend in some of the examples in various courses in OpenSAP. One of which is, of course, the new OpenSAP UI5 course, the Evolved course that started this week. And there was an issue that Ronnie pointed out and others pointed out where there was an Ssl Certificate issue. Andre Fisher, a friend and colleague of mine and of ours, of course, as well. We all know Andre. He says that's now been resolved. Gregor, you're saying that's the second time in 3 was that the second time in 3 weeks? I didn't realize that. Yeah, so I've been talking to the team that sort of looks after that sort of thing. They are on it, so hopefully it won't happen again, but we can't be sure. So yeah, just shout again if there's any issues. And Gregor, you should come on I hope you will come on every episode. What a fantastic help you are too. Yes, there's this sign-up form. If you've not already signed up for ES5, you can sign up at the link that Gregor has just posted there. Maxi, thank you for following. I got a notification that you just followed me. Were you following me before? And if not, why not? Anyway, yes, there we go. There's the ES5 certificate update. And of course, it's no issue now with logging onto ES5. There we go. A blog post from Gregor. Thanks, Fabienne. You refollowed. Refollowed, of course, yes. Good morning. It doesn't matter if you're late. It's nice to have you on the stream. So, we looked very briefly last week at some news relating to VS Code, which is an awesome editor from Microsoft. And it's the editor for which there is a CAP extension for CDS goodness, which we've looked at many times before in this series. And I started looking at the possibilities, and I know other folks like Ronnie and probably Nabheat as well, knowing you, Nabheat, have been looking at this sort of stuff. And there's one thing I wanted to share before we start digging into the main subject with our super guest Marius, which is I've been looking at the way this works, and it's really nice. There's this thing called a dev container.json file, which describes your development container. Just very briefly, there's a recent feature with VS Code, and this is available in the VS Code Insiders version of VS Code. It's like the beta version of VS Code, and you can tell the VS Code Insiders at least on Mac OS, there's a green icon instead of a blue icon, and there's an ability now to develop not locally but in remote locations. So, and I don't mean like Mount Everest or anything, or out of Mongolia, but you can develop in containers, and you can develop on SSH based remote hosts, which is absolutely awesome. And I thought that would be a really cool thing for us to develop in throwaway containers using Docker, because Docker's been on my radar, on my horizon, to use that metaphor, for a long time, but I've never really looked into it too deeply. But I've been looking into Docker recently, and then this came along. So anyway, What I wanted to do was just really quickly show you what I came up with for developing on containers for CAP. And you can even develop with VS Code from the browser. Yes, Helmut, that's something I saw. Was it only announced this week? Yeah, this sort of VS Code online, which is really cool. And that reminds me, I've been looking at some sort of pre-release stuff relating to Web IDE Next Generation, which is really, really cool as well. I can't really say much more about that yet, but there's like this convergence. I think one of the catalysts, I don't know whether you agree or not, one of the catalysts seems to have been Eclipse Theia, Theia, which when you look, I mean, this is from a man in the street perspective, when you look at it, it looks just like VS Code, as in there's this terminal thing. Hey Fred, good morning. And anyway, I'm digressing with Theia. Oh, that's a really good thought there. Would be great if SAP would support VS Code also for UI5 officially. Interesting. I wonder if we can get certain folks from UI5 to come on. And VS Code for ABAP would be nice as well. VS Code for everything. I think one of the cool things about VS Code is it, at least for me, introduced the concept of the language server protocol, which again is another invention, another thing from Microsoft, which I think is awesome. And that's the way that the VS Code for CDS extension works. And if we could put together something that knew about, for example, the UI5 libraries and so on, and maybe also with XML view definitions and so on, who knows? So anyway, yes, VS Code everywhere. I'm still a big Vim user, and I still would like to. I'm working on getting permission to publish my Vim plugin for CDS. So watch this space, but it's a process. So what was I going to do? Oh yes, so here we go. So if I look into, in fact, let's look in here. What I've got is this folder called CodeJam Base, and I won't go into the reason I was calling it CodeJam Base. Maybe for doing CodeJams in Docker containers. All you need is this folder called dev container, and this is what drives the way that VS Code works with container-based remote development. And I had a quick look, and the two files you should have in a .dev container folder, directory, not folder, are a dev container.json file and also a Docker file. Okay, so the Docker file, let's look at that first. The Docker file, let me make that full screen, is effectively the file that describes a container, an image rather. So in Docker there's a concept of an image, which is like this description of a container, and a container is basically an instance of that image. So this Docker file here describes how to build a particular image. How to build a particular image, and then you sort of create instances of that image. And there are base images as well that are available publicly. So this one here is based on the long-term support version of the node-based container. And I pinched this basically from here, from this Docker file. Woo! I didn't know there was mouse support in Ranger. That's amazing. So this github.com Microsoft VS Code remote try node. This is like a sample Docker file or a sample project with a Docker file in and with a dev container in. So anyway, I've built this. I can share this. I think I've already shared this in the Slack channel, in the Hands on Dev Slack channel. And really the only things to look at here is that as part of the setup, one of the layers I add is the installation globally of SAP CDS. And then also you can get the container to have these remotely installed extensions. VS Code extensions are often or mostly installed in the container so they can work properly. So in order to install those extensions, you just specify the extension name, but where the extension is not available in the normal extension repository, it turns out you can actually install the extension from a file. And of course, this is how we install the SAP CDS extension. So I'm copying the file, which I've got here, into the /tmp, into the temporary folder in the container. And then when we look at the dev container itself, all we say is, okay, well, the name of this container description is Node.js for cap dev. The Docker file is that Docker file there. And we want to expose the port 4004 that's in the container, which of course is what cap listens on by default. We want to expose that to the outside world, to the container host. So we can see, when we go to localhost locally, it actually gets rerouted to the container. And then the extensions to install, well, I'm just installing this extension, which is a VSX file. So when with all that talking there, if I say code insiders and what's it called again? Code jam base. What will happen, hopefully, is that, there we go, folder contains a dev container configuration file. Do you want to reopen this in a container? Yes, I do. Simple as that. And what we'll see here is that was a testing there, don't save. Yeah, installing dev container. You can see in the details here, this is the build of the image, and this is following the instructions, the build instructions in the Docker file. As you can see, you've got the Debian front-end argument setting, and then the app-get update, and so on. So that's basically what's going to happen. My machine, where I've been streaming recently, my Mac OS, my MacBook Pro machine runs noticeably slower. I don't, it's a pretty meaty machine. But anyway, but I have noticed a slight lag. While that's happening, let me introduce on the stream Marius. So Marius, where's the our thing here? There we go. There's Marius. There he is. Marius, good morning to you. Hello. I'm going to switch to interview, and we should be able to hear you. So yes, welcome. Good morning, Marius.
Hello. How are you doing?
Doing very well. So we got you on live on the stream. Let me just bring in the stream chat again to make sure people can see. So people on the stream, folks on the stream, just say hi to Marius and let me know if there are any problems with the audio or the video. So yeah, Marius, I was rambling on there and I realized that it was time to bring you on. So I apologize for that. It's all my fault. Everything that goes wrong is my fault. So you're going to talk to us about some really cool stuff today. But first of all, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yes, hello. I'm Marius Obert. I'm also part of the developer relations team at SAP. So I'm colleagues of DJ and Maxi that you know probably from the previous episodes. And what are my core focus topics? So I'm doing the UI5, covering the UI5 topic together with DJ, and obviously the huge cloud platform, Cloud Foundry topic that's basically out there everywhere. So everything is cloud now, so everything is Cloud Foundry too. Cloud Foundry is great.
Cool. Okay. Excellent. Yes. So, this is your first time on this series?
Yes.
I think it
I'm
is.
super excited. I don't have such a professional setup as you, but maybe you can see it. I'm watching it myself on my phone right now, so I kind of have two screens as well.
No, it's really awesome. I really like the Twitch platform because it has so many features that are directly designed for this sort of thing. So perfect. Okay, so without further ado, you're going to talk to us today about moving from a CAP project developed locally and deploying some of that into the cloud environment, right?
Exactly, because the name of CAP, as you all know, it stands for Cloud Application Programming Model. So there's always this one point when you have to deploy it to the cloud, because
exactly
that's already in the names.
Exactly, right? The clue is in the name, the first letter of the name. Okay, so why don't you share your screen, and I will stop talking and leave it to you. You can set the scene.
Am I already sharing, or can you already?
No, we can see your face. So we want to see your screen instead.
Oh, I got it.
Perfect. Right, we can see it. I'm going to make this full screen. There we go.
Nice. So first of all, I would like to show you that this is my Cloud Foundry space, so in a trial. So everything that I do, you can do it as well as at home.
Yeah.
And as you can see, there are no applications and no service instances running at the moment. So not that anyone says that I'm cheating or so.
Nothing up my sleeve.
So as I said, I have a second screen, but I don't check the comments all the time. So maybe you can just write something and then you can proxy it to me, DJ.
Perfect.
Okay, start. Okay, before there's I have to make a small, like, how do I say, disclosure? No.
Disclosure, yeah, disclosure is good.
Full disclosure, I'm not as professional as DJ, so I have a small cheat sheet on the side, and there are also two more like changes. I'm not a VS Code fan or I'm using Atom for everyone out there. There are more editors as well, and yeah, I think we can just get started. So I take the first command from my cheat sheet here and increase the font size.
Good lad, increasing the font size. That's perfect.
Is the font size okay?
Yeah, I think that's good. I think people will shout if the font size is not okay, but that looks good.
Okay, so this is a command that's very similar to what you already know. So I usually don't do the CTS, I do npx just to avoid globally installed node packages. But for now, basically, you could also execute just this command that I highlighted here. And this is more or less already what you know, right? So there's the CDS init, modules, DB, server. So that's old. So I would say the new part is basically this part.
Exactly, yes.
So why do I flag it as insecure? Because when we want to deploy it to the cloud, obviously user authentication is an important topic. But for the sake of this demonstration, I would just skip it and say, okay, we don't want to actually do user authentication. We just want to deploy the application and anyone could access it.
Yeah. We're gonna save user auth for another future episode.
And then there's this second flag, MTA. You will see later what it means. Basically, it tells the generator to also generate an MTA file, MTA.yaml file, and MTA stands for multi-target application. And the second flag, or the third flag, actually tells the generator to actually generate this project for HANA, because SQLite is fine for local development, but I would say it's the opposite of a cloud scale database.
Yeah, the other end of the spectrum.
We want to use HANA and HCI containers for that. And the last parameter is the name of the project, as you already know. Usually you do bookshop, I know, but I thought I'm from Munich and I have to tell everyone that I'm from Munich. So today we do a beer shop.
It'll be interesting to see what beers you have in your test data, if you do have some test data. I may be casting a critical eye on your choices.
Okay, fair enough. So, initializing project, that looks good so far.
Cool. And while that's doing that, if anybody on the stream would like me to drag Marius back on again to tell us more about NPX, then let me know. That would be, I think, a really good subject for a Wednesday stream. Okay,
so Gregor, I just saw your comments. Actually, that's what we're going to do in 2 minutes. The question was if you mix local development with SQLite and HANA in the cloud.
Nice.
So let's switch to the beer shop directory, and then we install two tools. It's npm install shx. I'll tell you later what it is. Basically, it's just that you can use that you can copy files with Node, and we also install SQLite 3 as.
You got a typo there.
Valid. Thanks.
Save dev.
I think you used SQLite 3 before for your broadcast as well, right, DJ?
Yes, we've used SQLite 3 for lots of things.
And yes, there will be a UI in this project. It will be a simple SAP UI5 app, so it won't be Fiori elements, but we'll use it here.
Cool. I like this because I don't even have to read the comments. So Marius is doing the comments and the demonstration. I might just go get another cup of coffee.
No. Atom. Now we open Atom, and from now on, I'm going to do all development in here.
Perfect.
Increase it a little bit. Let's have a look at the files. We don't need the VS Code, so let's just remove it to keep it simple here. So you see there's a little bit more happened than usually because there are additional files, but there's this .build.js. There are some package.json files. I don't know if they're usually there.
No, they're not. No.
And what else? There's this MTA YAML file. That's what we did when we added the MTA option, like this dash MTA. And basically, this is the core of all Cloud Foundry projects. It's the application descriptor, and it contains the name of the application, the version, and what modules are in there. So we have this DB module, which obviously resides in the DB folder. We have the server module, which resides in the server folder. And we have this, as a resource, the HDI container, because we want to deploy to HANA later on.
For those that don't know, MTA stands for multi-target application, right?
Yes.
As in there are multiple targets.
Okay. I saw a comment that NPX would be good to. I'll push it to the back of this episode, and if we have some time, I'll talk about it.
Great.
DJ, please remind me if I forget.
I will.
Okay, so let's have a look at the package.json file, because this is basically where all the CDS interactions happen, right? So everything that we configure here is basically the configuration of the CDS commands, like CDS run, CDS deploy, and as you can see currently, the CDS says, okay, there's one database, it's called type HANA, and it's a database, but actually, as Gregor already asked, for local development, we still want to use SQLite. So this is why this annotation here. Let me just copy and paste it in there. Return it. And now you can see that we're actually using SQLite, and we'll save it to not Bookshop, but I leave it for now because I think it probably breaks something if I rename it. But this should also read Beershop.
Yeah.
And for production, we want to use HANA. Exactly. And we also do one more modification. We add some additional scripts for the deployment later and for building it, the application. So we added 3 more scripts. Actually, one script is the same because we added a deploy to Cloud Foundry. That's why I renamed the normal deploy script to deploy CDS. So we can remove the original one. And then there's basically one command to build our archive, because before we deploy something to application, we all package it into one MTA file. And we can trigger this process with build MTA. And if we actually want to deploy it to Cloud Foundry, we execute a BOSS script first, and then we do a CF deploy. And what this is basically just a placeholder, because whenever you do a build the MTA, the MTA archive, there's a naming convention. So the first part of the archive name is the package name, and the second part is the package version. And npm script comes with this nice wildcard feature, so that you can actually say, okay, just deploy, CF deploy, and then build the name yourself, and just deploy whatever file has this name. But I think we can come back to this later, and it's not rocket science. You just have to think about it for 5 minutes, and you're like, yeah, sure. Yeah,
perfect.
So currently, there are a couple of things that are that the CDS team is still working on. So we have to do some manual fixes to the files that were generated. But I know that they are working on this, and I think they will resolve this issue fast. So there's this HDI config file, which is used for the HDI container. Mm-hmm. And we have to change the plugin version for the HANA version that's actually used in the cloud.
Yeah, so this is actually, for those who have done any missions at TechEd last year, this will be a familiar thing to them, because I think we had a slight mismatch problem then too. By the way, Fabienne is asking about the MTA file. I don't know whether you've seen the question, Marius. No dependency in the MTA file. I think there was this sort of reference to the resources, wasn't
there? Sorry, what do you mean with no dependencies? Or
Fabian, if you can explain your question in a little bit more detail.
I just saw the comment, no dependencies in the MTA, like app router and UI deployer. So we won't use the HTML5 app repo service. This is why we don't need a UI deployer. And for the sake of simplicity, our basically the UI component will be the app router. So the UI files will be integrated in the app router later. But you're right, if you want to have run with the latest technology and if you're on the AWS data center EU10, then it might make sense to use the app router and the HTML5 repo service and the UI deployer.
Cool, thanks. Oh, thanks, Gregor. Thanks for joining, and see you next time. Gregor has to drop out.
Yeah. So let's start with the part that you already know and that you're probably familiar with. Let's define the data model. So for this data model, we just, as I said, we call it beer shop, and instead of books, we have beer. The properties are pretty simple. The ID is the same. Then we have a sort, which is like the type of beer. Is it a Pilsner? Is it wheat beer?
That's not a beer. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
At brewery. So, and as you can see, there's my Atom editor also knows CDS and it highlights the properties. But so if you are with SAP, you can install it. But if not, I'm afraid you have to be a little bit more patient because it's not yet externally available, the Atom plugin.
Oh, you tempter, you. In fact, you said something that reminded me. I think I might have another logo for another T-shirt. For lots of people here, I know CDS. With reference to I know karate, I know kung fu.
That would be a nice T-shirt. Let me know when you send it to print.
Cool.
So next we just generate a sample data file. I already prepared some beer, and I was actually hoping that Gregor stays for some more time so that he can suggest another beer, but maybe
he was going because he was going to be
new data. So just write it in the chat, and either I see it or DJ will tell me that someone suggested a beer. So while we wait, we also have to configure this data.hdi table data file. And what it does is basically it maps what columns we want from the CSV data to the HANA columns. So we just say create new file, say data.htb table data.
Exactly. While you're doing that, I'll just say that this is an explicit mapping definition file, whereas with the SQLite approach that we've been seeing, we just had an implicit mapping through the matching up of the column names.
Oh, and we got a suggestion, I see, from
yeah, perfect. Thanks to Toki. Radler? Volker? What are you doing?
Okay, I'll let this one slide and edit.
Let's pretend Volker didn't say that. Just kidding, of course.
So nice.
Excellent.
And then we also have to modify our our data service file. So that's also something that you know from the previous episodes. So I think we can just replace it and don't need to talk about this for long. And oh, that was nice. So you saw that I got an error here because obviously there is no bookshop in this example. So this
nice. Yeah. So it really is using the language server protocol as well, this Atom plugin.
Okay, Corona Paylager. I didn't even know that Corona has a name like Paylager.
Okay. Oh, wow. Oh, nice one, Pierre. See, of course, if we were using VS Code, we could have got the live stream participants to type them in directly, right?
Yes. Oh, wait, where was I? Exactly. So I already said that the generator currently doesn't generate all the files that are there because there are still some discussions. So what we actually consider best practices. Mm-hmm. But so obviously you can see in the server file, we only have the service definition. And if this should be an independent microservice, then needs to be a CDS file is not a server. It doesn't tell Cloud Foundry anything what to do. So we actually need to add a package.json file so that Cloud Foundry knows, okay, this is a Node.js project, and that it knows how to start this server.
Right. Yeah.
So we say add new file, not in this one.
So while you're adding that, Mark has suggested a very unusually named beer type, an Atlantic Ale.
Where was it? That's from Hamburg, I think.
Yeah. Störtebeker.
Right, no.
Just the T and the R are wrong way around, that's all.
Yeah. So you probably notice I don't drink it too often.
It's from Stralsund. Okay, cool.
Oh, okay. I think they sell it at Elfie, or did I mix it up with another beer? At least the first time I saw it was in Hamburg.
Ah, nice, yeah.
And it was basically already most of what's new. So maybe just because we have some time and step in between, let's do a CDS. Let's just test it locally. So we do a CDS run, deploy.
So we're using one of the scripts now in the package.json.
It generated the bookshop database file, and then we do a npm start. So let's move this over here. Host. Nice. And if you look at it, this is where all our data is, and also your sample data.
So this is being served by the SQLite.
Yes, exactly. This is just everything that you've done in the previous, not everything, but some of what you've done in the previous episodes. And we just rushed through it, but there was nothing new except of the modifications to the files that were generated automatically.
Exactly.
So what could we do next? I think we could just, we're actually good on time, but let me just copy this UI folder anyway. Okay. I will show you in it. It's just like a lot of UI files, so I think I save some time if I just copy and paste it in here.
While you're copying that, Mark is asking if anybody knows an API similar to brewerydb.com/developers. Now, I don't know what that is, but I know that the Untapped app and system, that's got a really nice API. I've used that in a few things actually. I'll check out BrewerDB. I've never seen it before.
So I think I just show you go through the files that are actually in this app folder. It's a normal JavaScript controller that basically doesn't do anything here. The view is also pretty empty. It contains a page that's named has a title beer shop.
And you've got a little emoji in the text. That's pretty cool.
Yes. I actually played a lot.
That's showing off. That is showing off.
So it basically the list just contains all the sample data that we just created. So there's no fancy UI. It's just a plain OData model, and the list just renders everything that's in the model.
That's all good.
We have this component, also pretty standard, nothing new. Index.js file, same.
Yep.
No rocket science going on here. Manifest.json. I mean, this is basically how you define an OData service as a data source. Also standard.
Refer to it down.
Nothing specific. Yeah. And then we come to the package.json, which basically is I don't forgot who asked it, but someone asked earlier if there's a dependency to the app router.
Yeah, that was Fabian.
Yeah. The app router is. And as you know, when you have an app router, you also need an app router configuration, which is this access app JSON file. And it basically just says, okay, where's the welcome file? It's in the directory app index.html. And the route says, okay, if the route matches app, just forward it to the local directory, which is this directory here. And I know it would be nicer if I would have a web app folder. That's actually, then here would be web app, and all the UI files would be in that folder. So I was a little bit lazy when I prepared this yesterday.
One of the three great virtues of a programmer.
Yes. And the second route is basically just taking everything else, so all requests that don't match app, and forwards it to the server API. And you might wonder, what's the server API? So that's if you haven't used the app router before. That's basically, it looks in the environment variable. So the app router is an application based on Node.js running in Cloud Foundry. And this application will check its environment variables for a destination called server API.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look at this MTA YAML that has been generated in the beginning, we said, okay,
yeah,
this is where our server module is, and it provides an environment variable named server API. And the properties is the URL of this module here.
So let's just
obviously
unpack that a little bit. Yeah. So we've got inside the UI5 app, in the manifest.json, we may have had some routing there, we may not, I don't know. But that is UI5 routing. What we just looked at, however, is not UI5 routing, it's the app router routing. And the app router routing is referring to an endpoint name that is defined in the multi-target application configuration, which is provided by basically the CAP backend service, right? That's how it all links together.
Yes. Thanks for this comment. I think that's very important to differentiate all the technologies and to know how they interact, but which definition and which file belongs to which technology.
Yeah.
That's basically key to understand this CAP model, I think.
We've got a nice comment here from Lemon Android. Welcome, Lemon Android. And he says, or she says, beer shop. I'd encourage more sober ideas. Well, yeah. I mean, Volker's suggested a Radler for before 11 in the morning. I mean, obviously, Nappy. What time is it over with you? And we've got some folks maybe from Australia as well. So maybe it's allowed. I don't know.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
But yeah, I think next time you'll go back to the beer shop. Or DJ, will you stay with the?
I quite like the idea of beers and books. Maybe we can combine them somehow.
Yeah. Books about beers.
Books about beer.
Okay.
Nappy says it's just almost 1:15 in the afternoon, so it's allowed. Although he's saying it's allowed 24/7. Okay.
Okay. So you might have noticed that there is currently no UI module defined here in this MTA YAML file, and obviously we need to change this. So
yeah,
let's just add one more file here. That's the part I don't like about YAML.
Yeah.
Now it should
look good. This is where a YAML pretty printer would come in nicely, wouldn't it?
But, okay, I haven't tried it, but would it work?
No.
Because
I don't know.
Because the indentation actually is instead of parentheses, so the pretty printer could mess up something.
Yeah, no, what I mean is a YAML aware pretty printer.
Oh, yes, that would be great. Probably it's already there for Atom and VS Code. And maybe I should look for this after the stream. That's basically all we needed to do. So you can see now we have this UI module. It's also a Node application. It's in the path app. These are just parameters for the runtime. We could also skip them. And it requires this server API. So this triggers Cloud Foundry to first deploy this module. And once it's deployed, it will also deploy this module and insert the server API that we defined here into the environment variables of this module. And as you might remember, this module is the app router.
Yeah.
So basically, this is where we define this destination here. Okay, so I think this was most of what I needed to prepare code-wise. And probably you wonder now, how do I actually create the MTA archive? And this is very easy. There's this Go-based tool, but it's available via npm. So if you don't have it, you could do npm install /gmvt mobile multi-cloud build tool. But I already have it installed. So if I do mvt, You see it's installed, and then I could do mbt init. And if you look closely here, there will be a make file will be generated. Or it won't.
Oh, sorry, I probably put you off with this with the white space in the YAML file. Maybe there's some indentation issues. Yeah, a lesson learned: never speak to anybody if they're editing a YAML file.
I think I just missed one space before everything. But again, mbt init. No. Did YAML file line 24.
24.
No, there's one space here. That's basically right.
Are there tabs in there as well or something?
Yeah, I think there were some tabs.
Yeah. And YAML doesn't like tabs, right?
Oh, not at all. But one more try. Okay, gosh.
Oh, right. So Sutoki is saying that Red Hat has got a plugin for VS Code for YAML and maybe also for Atom as well. Yeah. In an emergency, Fabian is saying that there are some YAML beautifiers online as well. We could paste it all in. So Helmut, who invented YAML, I know the person who invented YAML. He was in the Perl community a long time ago, Ingo or Ingi. And I remember, I remember a few drinks with him. Maybe it was then that he created it. But yeah, a chap called Ingo. What was his surname? Can't remember. Ingi. We knew him as Ingi.
I almost fixed it, so let's just add a remaining stuff here.
No, while you're doing that, YAML Ingi.
Again. Okay, so somewhere here there's still.
Is it worth pasting it all into a? Let me see if I can find a. Who's got a YAML beautifier URL that we can use?
Actually, you're right. I just take it from this file here.
Or have you got a file that's already prepared? Yeah.
That's a good idea. Oh, nice. So you saw that it generated this make file. So basically, the way this MTA archive is being generated is just a make file, and this is why when you look at this code that I pasted here initially, it basically just triggers make.
Make. You know, make is forgive the pun, but make it seems to be making a comeback. Or there's a resurgence of the use of make for all sorts of things. People are rediscovering make. That it's not just for compiling C source code. Anyway, that's a story for another time, another Wednesday maybe.
Okay, and actually, I'm not a make expert as well. I know it exists, and that's all I know. But if you don't, it's enough to use this MBT tool. And now I just basically say, I trigger this script here. Say npm run cf deploy, and then it will do its work, run for some time. And I think in the meantime, I could explain this npx issue. Let's just see if it's actually going through the deployment step successfully. So it says generated archive, and now it's deploying it to Cloud Foundry. Great. So what is npx? Npx basically is several things together. So if you have a very recent version of Node installed, it's already available on your machine. And basically, when you run npx from a directory and say npx HTTP server, for example, why don't we do this? Then it checks, is HTTP server installed in a Node module's parent folder? If not, it will pull it from npm and execute it right in place. So,
oh wow, okay, that's pretty cool.
Let's just go to the app folder here and run npx http server. So this is one of the commands I use the most often.
npx.
npx http server.
So it's pulling that down now and then running
it. Web server right here. So basically, you can see this bookshop with no data because I didn't run the backend. I only started a web server serving this directory. And basically what I did in the beginning, if I scroll to the top, I said npx at SAP, which is the registry of the SAP's NPM registry, and then cd. So why did I do that? Because if you run CDS and you install it locally, you have one globally installed version. But when you update a dependency here, let's say to 1.5, for example, and you run npm start, it will always use the version you have installed in your node modules folder, which is the one you defined here. So if you're in this situation and you have it globally installed as well, you might get different results when you run CDS run or if you run npm start. And just to avoid this confusion, I said, okay, I try to avoid globally installed packages for the MBT tool. It's currently not working. But for CDS, it's working. That's why I say I avoid globally installed packages. And I only go via npm scripts because they come with this nice wildcard feature. And they always use the version that's actually deployed because you might test it locally with the globally installed version. But here's a dependency declared with an old version that's not defined. And as soon as you do the CF push to Cloud Foundry will use this version. And just to keep in sync which version you're using for local development and for cloud deployment, I say I avoid globally installed packages.
I think that still deserves a little bit more time on maybe a Wednesday episode. Maybe I'll dig into it as well. But cool, thank you very much, and also thank you, Fred, for providing us with a URL to Ingi's homepage. God, it's a long time since I've thought about Ingi. Wow, amazing. Anyway, so where are we on the deployment?
Let's see, switch to the URL. Okay, it's currently deploying the server application. So we can actually switch over to my Cloud Cockpit and refresh it.
I'm amazed you've not been logged out.
So, yeah, I was expecting that as well. And now you can see the HDA container is already created. 2 applications are bound to it. And if I switch to apps, I should see those 2 applications, but they're not yet started since they're still booting up.
Yeah. So Gregor's back actually, and he's got a question. Does the MTA also build the UI5 part?
So do you mean the MTA or the CDS? Because for CDS currently, unfortunately, no. I'm still trying to explore if there's a way to combine it with the UI5 tooling, that we say, okay, we minify it with the UI5 tooling, and then we actually use the HTML5 app repo to deploy it to the HTML5 app repo, and then connect it with the app router. So I'm trying to set up a scenario, but that's very complex and overkill for this. Yeah. But to answer your question, currently not, but I'm working on this, or also not only me, there's also this entire CDS team that's working on it.
Yeah, it's all on your shoulders, Marius.
Thank God that's not true. So maybe while we're still deploying, we could do something spontaneous. So, you saw that this script basically generates the file, and this file is here in MTA archive. It's called beershop version 100. Just to prove that it's actually using the most current version, let's just update the version and start a new build. Not a deploy, just a build. So I do npm run deploy. Not a deploy. Build. I think that's the name of the script. Choose. No, it's not build. It's build MTA.
Build MTA.
I should also work on the naming of those scripts. Build.
Are you in the right
I'm in the app directory, that's why.
Actually, also, while we're waiting, after this is done, if we're still waiting for the deploy to finish, I can flip back to the VS Code container that we started looking at, because obviously that's been built by now. Normally it builds in literally 5 seconds, but my machine runs slow when I run OBS. So yeah. So where are we still? Are we still deploying?
Yeah. Yes. So it's done. So it just deployed successfully.
Perfect.
It finished momentarily. So let's have a look at this URL. And drum roll, it's ta-da.
Excellent. So let's pick this apart a little bit. We've got the UI5 app that's consuming the data from, and the UI5 app is being served from. Can you just flip to your cockpit there, the first tab?
Sure.
Yeah. So the UI5 app is being served from this third one in the list here, the BeerShop UI, and it's consuming data that's being made available via the BeerShop serve, the second one in that list. And the reason, and I'm sort of building up so you can explain this, the reason why we've got the BeerShop DB thing in there in a stopped state is because ...
Yes, that's a good thing that we probably need to explain. So what the BeerShop DB does, it's basically setting up the schema. So it's an application that just starts, sets up the schema, imports the sample data, and then it shuts down and terminates, because that's all the things it had to do. And it's technically it's called an application, but in Cloud Foundry we call this a Cloud Foundry task. So it's you can also schedule tasks, but this is a task. It ran once. It has done its job successfully. If it would have crashed, you would see I think error or crash here in this.
Or maybe even stopped in red or something. But that's a perfect opportunity, Marius, for you to pimp your latest Cloud Foundry Fun blog post.
Yes, it's a good cue. In my latest Cloud Foundry Fun blog post, I actually explained what Cloud Foundry tasks are, what you can use them for, what are possible scenarios, and how to set up simple Cloud Foundry tasks that is scheduled by the SAP Cloud Foundry Cloud Platform Job Scheduler to run once per week and to fetch the latest soccer results, the sport results. But it could also do batch jobs for you if you want to schedule them.
Here we go. I'm just going to. I wonder if we can search for number 4. There we go. Cloud Foundry Fun. Oh, there we go. Number 4. Let me paste the URL in there, into the Slack chat, not Slack chat, into the Twitch chat. There we go. Let me switch back to your screen. That was awesome. I don't know if, we haven't rehearsed that at all, but that was perfectly timed. Thank you so much, Marius. And I think Fabian is absolutely right. It was a pretty dense session, full of information. I am looking forward to watching that again. And in the immortal words of Eric Meyer, I think we need to stare at this a little bit for it to all to sink in.
It was a lot, definitely.
Definitely. Marius,
one more thing I would add as a just explanation. So you remember when we inserted this destinations environment variable, you can actually have a look at this at the Cloud Foundry cockpit as well. I already highlighted it, and I think you should see it any second in the screen on a broadcast. So this is where we injected the information about the server application to the app router.
Perfect.
And to answer Napid's question, I'm not sure. I don't know too much about Kubernetes yet. Possibly.
Okay, Nabi, that's a question for you to answer for us next time. There you go. I'm sure you will do.
Okay.
Perfect. So Marius, do you want to switch back to your video for a second so people could wave goodbye to you and thank you? That'd be awesome. Let me put this a little bit smaller, otherwise the stream will go crazy quality-wise. Marius, thank you very much. That was absolutely amazing. Perfect timing as well. Yes, you enjoy more than a. Or was that a type of Munich beer that you were just drinking? Then?
Munich water.
From I'm gonna get really hassled by Marius and Maxi now. Anyway, Marius, that was superb. Thank you very much indeed. That was awesome. Thanks everybody for joining. yeah, catch us on the next live stream. Oh, you're welcome anytime. And yeah, watch the replay. And yeah, we'll have the annotations up soon as well. Thanks very much, and see you next time.
Bye.